Y'all, welcome to our final full week of interactive design. It's hard to believe that we're all the way here and that we're approaching our final milestone for the course before we head into our project number 4 final presentation. As you know, in week 16, we're going to be jumping into creating your app concept in XD and then bringing it over into InVision for our final clickable prototype for the course. I'm excited for y'all to dive into this. Once you start prototyping for mobile design, there's just maybe something a little bit more special about it, just in my opinion, than some of the things we've done for responsive web. Although those have been great, I'm excited for y'all to dive into application design. There's a lot of great content in this module down below. You've got a video about typography and maybe some of the things to watch out for when you jump into XD. And then also, because of timing, we just don't have enough time to jump into doing our own style guide for your mobile app. But good news is Apple provides their own style guide for all things application design on iPhones. And so I've included that link here in the module. It was also linked a couple weeks ago. I would encourage you to leverage that. And of course, there in I think the video number 2 below this, I walked through some things to look out for there. The next video is about designing in XD, some things that might be helpful to think about, and the foundation for that is really just to be always thinking a step ahead. When the user taps on something, what do I want them to do? Where do I want it to go? And how might it interact? And so unlike maybe web design or website design, where you're really just focused on clicking through the navigation and some basic interactions, here in mobile application design, you want to make sure you're kind of thinking step by step how the user are going to get from A to B to C, and then what interactions might take place to get them there. And then finally, there's a third video that I've created that's just about, bringing it into InVision and some of the extra things that you can do or maybe experiment with as it relates to interactive interactions with mobile design. So a lot of content down below. This is the only module for this week. So nothing else to worry about as far as writing goes or any more industry chats. We've wrapped those up last week. So the only thing you have to focus on for this course as we head into the final is to build out your prototype. Just remember that UI design for mobile applications is different, but it is similar. That same, adherence to layout and grid and breaking the grid, and also, simple intuitive navigation from page to page, taking care of, having a nice visual balance as the user scrolls down in your mobile application. All those things are applicable, whether that's website design or mobile application. And so there's definitely some similarities. Where it does differ, some of the things I talk about in the videos below, the typography considerations. Apple iOS guidelines, I think, has the highest title or the highest headline or header within their type structure at 34 pixels. And where on desktop or web design, you might have used 72 last time or 96. And so that's definitely a consideration. And if you think about those large text sizes on your phone, it really would create a difficult experience if you had some large text sizes. And so pay careful attention to your typography considerations when we go into project number 4. Another thing to think about is just the visual real estate. We're going to be dealing with iPhone 10, the iPhone X, in our artboards that's available as a preset in Adobe XD. And so the width of that is only 375 pixels wide, I believe, or 325. I'll check that here in a second. Regardless, it's much smaller than a 1366 pixel wide desktop view. And so the visual real estate is much more, streamlined, thin, condensed. And so that has some special considerations with it. You can't have really, 2 or 3, 4 columns worth of text there or photography. You really have to think about how you can best use that space. And I actually pulled the examples here on the right hand side from the mood boards that you all submitted here for project number 4. And I think if you look at this, you can see how the visual real estate is leveraged. The text kind of there's no multiple columns worth of text. The photography at most is full width, or might kind of bleed off the edge to have the user feel like they can swipe left and right. And so the visual real estate is less, and so there's consideration that need to be made as a result. The icon usage is definitely lends itself to the mobile application design side of the house. You can see here right in the middle, the plan a trip, how I can quickly kind of tap on flights, hotels, rental cars because of those icons. Also in the navigation itself, where maybe on a website design or a desktop design, you might have just textual navigations like home or home and floor plans and amenities and things like that, like we did for the apartment website. Here you might pair up an icon with text, or if your icons are if your icons speak enough for themselves that they don't need the text to help the user understand what they are, you might go with icon only navigation there. Also, the interactions. As you jump into InVision, you're going to find out that when you hook up your interactions, that there's going to be a lot of new things that you can do as it relates to jumping from screen to screen that maybe you didn't take advantage of in project number 2 because you don't really think about those things for website design, for full desktop design. Things like double tap or swipe right or swipe left or swipe up, swipe down. And then what do you want to have happen to your screen whenever the user performs that action? Say when I tap, do I want the next screen to appear in as a swiping from right to left or left to right or up to down or pop or flip or all those different things that are now available to you because you're dealing with mobile application design? There's no secret to maybe learning these. The best thing to do is just to try it out. Have a couple screens inside of InVision and try out all the different options and the interactions. Find the one that feels the most intuitive to you. I'll say just from my experience, if I have maybe an item on the page that has an arrow that points to the right, as in if I tap that, I'm going somewhere, then perhaps the screen that I want to have come in next might swipe from the right to the left, like the user is going in that direction. So think about that, and also pull up your favorite apps on your phone or apps that might be in the same genre of your application that you're designing. Tap through all the screens, all the pages within that application. Think about the different ways that the page interacts with the next page and what different types of actions you take. If you double tap to favorite something or like something versus a single tap to maybe jump to another page. And so there's lots of different interaction considerations that can be had that maybe we didn't have to think about from project number 2. Also, the navigation placement. You can see on all these examples, some of those are cut off, but at least in the 2 that you can see here with the Plan a Trip and the Explore Santorini, the navigation is placed down at the very bottom. That's a common pattern for most all applications. And so I would anticipate in most, if not all, of your app designs that you're going to be submitting for project number 4, that nav is placed at the bottom. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have icons or navigation at the very top. I think hidden behind my video here is a profile icon here or a profile avatar on the right-hand side with search. Sorry, my mouse is getting away from me here. But also over here you see some of the icons here at the very bottom. But on this screen, at the very top, you have home, and you might have another icon over here that's behind my camera. You have search here at the very top. You have a back arrow. And so while the primary navigation is probably going to be at the bottom of your page, there might also be some icons or navigation items that are at the very top. And so just keeping that into consideration, look at some other apps, some comparable apps that you're working with. Think about their placement, their icons, their navigation placement within their app. So just some things to think about as you head into your design tonight for project number 4's mobile application design. And again, more information about some of the more intricate things around typography and the iOS kit for Adobe XD. And then also, some things to think about with layout, and then also with InVision's interaction designs there in the next couple of videos linked below. All right, so for the instructions for this final assignment, you're going to be building upon your wireframes and all the previous research that you did in project number 3 and bring that all to life with your app concept. Remember your users in this. As a designer, it's really easy to jump into, well, now I get to prototype and bring it to life and apply my design. And it's easy to lose sight in this moment of your users and the things that they said back in project number 3. If you have a few minutes, go back and listen to those interviews. Think about how you might now visually solve those challenges that your users brought up to you. Think about how you'll visually solve those key features that you've included as a part of your IA map and your wireframes, and bring those to life and make sure the user is at the center of everything that you do. Also, go back to your mood boards for inspiration. Sometimes it's also easy to forget about the things that inspired you before. Go back to those mood boards that you submitted, look at the UI inspiration, and use those as jumping off points for you to make a really beautiful, solid application. And finally, like we did in project number 2, we're going to be designing in Adobe XD, exporting our screens. And I walked through maybe how to export at 2x or double the pixel density so that you can have a more crisp image inside of InVision. I walked through that, I believe, in the second video down below, second or third video down below. But we're going to be designing in Adobe XD again and bringing that over into InVision to create our clickable prototype. Tappable prototype, excuse me. Now, with that, there's some things to think about. If your wireframe had the idea of photos bleeding off the edge and the user being able to swipe left and right, unfortunately, InVision doesn't allow us to actually pull that off. If we were staying inside of Adobe XD and we were able to do that through the student account that some of y'all have, we probably would be able to pull it off. Because we're using, because we have to move over to InVision to leverage their account to build out our prototypes, it just doesn't allow for that interaction. And so that's kind of a bummer, but at the same time, maybe saves you a few minutes on having to actually execute that. Don't change anything. Still leverage that visual layout of maybe the photo bleeding off the edge to design or propose the concept of that action happening. Just know that we won't actually be able to create that interaction when we get over to InVision. All right, and like I said, you're going to be creating your tappable prototype there in the InVision app. All right, as far as requirements goes, the file type that you're going to share is your InVision share link. The minimum number of screens is 10, and so just want to make sure inside of your InVision prototype, we have a minimum of 10 screens. That's not including overlays or anything like that. And I walked through maybe how to use a keyboard. I wouldn't really count that as an overlay. But 10 minimum screens, full screen designs inside of your InVision prototype. The interaction is that we must be able to intuitively navigate into and out of each screen. So one of the most frustrating things from an end user perspective is that there's the idea of a dead page or a dead link. In that I've gotten to the page, but I don't know how to get back out, or I don't know how to escape from that page. That's just to say, make sure that if you have a bottom navigation, that all those hotspots, all those navigation items are linked up if you have the screens to fulfill that. And also including a back button. I talk about that there, and I think in the second video down below once we get into XD. And so we must be able to tap into and navigate into each of the pages that you're going to have as a part of your prototype. And we must be able to navigate out of that screen, go back to where we came from, jump to another screen, be able to jump to individual pages within the actual navigation itself. And so if we can get to a screen, we have to have a way to get back out of it somehow. And as far as the dimensions go, we're going to leverage the iPhone X or iPhone 10 preset inside of Adobe XD. So you open XD, you jump into the Launchpad there, and you can use the artboard preset of the iPhone 10. I believe that's 375 by 812 width and height. Share your InVision link with the group there, and that'll be kind of the first big step for this milestone. You're going to begin by designing in Adobe XD, export your screens, and build your prototype in the InVision app. As mentioned in video number 4 down below, if you're using a free InVision account and you have the apartment website still there, you're probably at your cap. The InVision account only allows for one free prototype. And so you can archive project number 2 to fill up space. And I walked through that down below in video number 4. I think it's maybe $7 or $10 for the next level up for InVision if you wanted to keep those both active. But Project 2 is already graded. You're good to go ahead and archive that. I wouldn't delete it because you might want to bring it back to life at another point in time for an interview or for an example or something for your portfolio. And so I would just archive that. Once you archive it, it frees up that extra, one free space, and you can use that to build out your project number 4 prototype. Your prototype should include a minimum of 10 screens that are fully interactive. Share your link with your group along with 200 to 300 words explaining how the information you gathered in project number 3 impacted your design decisions here in project number 4. So a little different from what we've been discussing here in the past about just kind of your thoughts on what you presented or what you did. So make sure you pick up on that. We'll definitely be keeping an eye out on that for the discussion post. So your share link, adding my email to the actual prototype itself, and then generating the share link for your peer group, sharing that along with 200 to 300 words around the information how the information you gathered in project number 3 impacted your final design decisions here as you submitted your final prototype. All right, second post by now, it's a second post required to give your peers some feedback. So make sure you're hitting that 200 word minimum evaluation for your peers. Identifying areas that you feel like might need a little bit of attention, things they can focus on as they head into our 4th and final presentation package. So all that to say, we'll wrap it up here. With that, good luck on your final prototype. I'm excited to see what y'all do. Everybody has come such a long way since our first or second week when we took on a local small business to redesign their websites. Y'all have made great strides in interactive design. It's an exciting thing to see how everybody has grown throughout the course, and really excited to see what y'all do for your final prototype here in project number 4. So, all right, enjoy the videos below, and I'll see y'all later. Thanks.